Welcome in, everybody. This is your host, Christopher Rennie, and this is the Chris Rennie Show. On this episode today, we're going to talk about the Masters, what makes it remarkable, special television to watch, my favorite story, and we're going to run through some bets on how to bet on the Masters, because I got that question a lot this week. How do you bet on the Masters? Well, I'm going to explain it to you on this episode. That'll be the last thing we talk about in regards to the Masters. I think there's a lot of golfers I like. Can Bryson DeChambeau break the course? I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough course. I've reached out to a lot of golf people about it. He hits bombs. He does. We're going to talk about it. Next on the list, we are going to talk about the NFL. I'm going to run around, talk about some of my favorite storylines for going into the weekend. And then lastly, COVID-19 has attacked college football once again. How and why are we having so much trouble with it in the realm of college football? I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to tell you the possible solutions for it. And they aren't as great as you'd like. But before we get started, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at ChrisRennieCFB for all things sports. I'll be following the Masters. And don't forget to subscribe and rate to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And I get a rating. So now that that's all good, let's get into it. I can't do this anymore. What's this guy saying? Who gave these national radio hosts these jobs? Jeez. Can't even understand that guy. What's he even talking about? I can't take it anymore. Those national media personalities making you feel like that. Make a change. Listen to this idiot about the sports that matter from the opinion that matters. Haha, you said it, not me. Now for today's takes from the most opinionated host in sports talk. I turned on my TV this morning when I woke up. Sports Center at the Masters. It's that time of year. I probably should have done this show on Monday, but, the Masters is underway. I'm excited. I cannot wait to watch this golf on the weekend. Ohio State's game got canceled. That was disappointing to me, but that just opens up the window to watch some golf during a time I didn't think I would watch much of it. But I was going to tune in regardless. The Masters is a special tournament. You've got the 11th, 12th, and 13th holes creating drama. You've got the beautiful azaleas. You've got enough water to make it real interesting. Who remembers when Spieth hit the water those times? Spectacular golf. Tough moment, though, for Spieth, And, this course is unforgiving to mistakes. And that is why when you look at the winners, it is mistake-free golf players. I'm excited to watch this drama unfold. This year is going to be a little different. We don't know how this course is going to play. The pros have never played it this late into the year. You've got the beautiful bridge. You've got some of the most iconic moments in the history of the sport. They're going through a clip right now on my television. You got the Golden Bear, you got Tiger Woods, guys who have absolutely owned Augusta in ways you never thought were possible. Some of my more recent memories were Bubba Watson's successes here. You had Phil Mickelson back a little bit. There's just been so many great moments and so many moments that have really connected a world that isn't just avid golf fans. I love golf. I love the I love the personalities in the sport. I love the idea of the sport. I think it's one of the most beautiful sports on the planet. When you really take into consideration what goes into maintaining a golf course, getting the grass to the quality it needs to be, and then having guys take on these long 7,600-yard courses and making them look short, whatever. I don't know how long a course is. I just saw that the other day. So what is a long golf course? 8,500 yards? Sounds right to me. We're going to go with 8,500 yards, but that's probably wrong. I don't know that much about golf. I know the club names. I know the big stars. I know what draw and fade means. I know those terms, but if you put a golf club in my hand, I'm as bad as they come. I went golfing with my friends a few months ago. I think I shot a 125, an honest 125. So I didn't lie once. That's not good. You know, the average par, that is, it's a par 7. I think the course is a par 71 that I played at. I was 54 over. In 18. Not 72. In 18. Is that bad? It's not good. But that's one of the reasons I love golf. It's not easy. It's one of the hardest sports on the planet. I think it's when it's tough that makes it better. Augusta is as tough as they come. It is a course that can eat you alive. In reality, the green jacket is the most iconic staple in the sport. Yes, you've got some other great trophies. You've got the U.S. Open. You got the 2 other majors. But this is where fans far and wide come to connect over a sport that doesn't really bring together many people. You know, you got to think about Tiger Woods. You know, what was Tiger Woods to golf? Everyone says he was a great unifier that brought the middle-class audience to it due to his upbringing and the way he just took over the sport with his personality. You know, and the greatest thing happened in Tiger's life when he won the Masters most recently. He was humanized. It was spectacular. And I know for a fact there wasn't a single person in the world who wasn't watching or didn't have someone else watching, in the United States, I should say. It was one of those moments in sports you couldn't take your eyes off of. You know, Twitter talked about it for so long, and it really just was truly one of those moments. And wow, it was one of my favorite moments in sports, watching Tiger Woods win last year in the majors, in the Masters. Excuse me. This year, I don't know if he's going to do it again. I put a wager down, $5 on 3,000 plus 3,000 to win. That it'll net a nice return on investment, but it's going to be a challenge. You know, one of the big reasons it's going to be different is usually there's a nice lead up of tournaments going into the Masters. I don't know their names, but there's usually 4 or 5 right before them, and you get a lot of early work to work out the kinks. So nothing could really prepare you for Augusta. I think when you look at who is going to really succeed this year, it's going to be the guys who are consistent. It's going to be the guys who play. I honestly think this is going to go to the guys who play a little bit more conservatively this year. I'm not saying conservativeness is how you win the Masters. You got to be a shot maker. Phil Mickelson, Bubba Watson prove that. You have to take those tough shots. You can't be scared. But it's going to be those guys who hit fairways. It's going to be those guys who can play well with their short game. And it's going to be those guys who are elite putters. That has how you've won the Masters is an elite putter, great short game, and hitting the ball hard and far. And now Bryson DeChambeau is going to try to break that. Brooks Koepka is going to try to break that. You know, different ways. But playing this course long hasn't proven to be the biggest reason for success in this. It's challenging in so many different ways. And the one problem with hitting it far is sometimes you hit it out. And the next thing on the list on how you win the Masters is recovery. this is what they say Tiger's so great at, is when he hits a bad drive, picking it out of the rough and making it playable. That is why I think, you got to still give Tiger Woods a chance, and you got to give guys like him a chance. Guys who play. It may not be those guys like Bryson who are hitting the ball 380 yards, 390 yards in the air, but they are shot makers. They are consistent. That's what it's about at Augusta. So what I've heard, don't quote me on it. I just love the sport, honestly. We're going to get into it. So I'm going to open up something. We're going to get into it. Before I get into possible winners, this is a good way to do it. All right, so obviously I'm going to teach you how to bet on this, all right? There are U.S. Masters outright winner, okay? So you just pick one player to win the Masters. Obviously, the odds are the biggest on this one. It's the hardest to pick. There are 96 golfers, all of whom have their own odds. And, when it comes down to it, what is going to happen in that regard? I don't know. I can't. I'm going to go through it at the end. But, yeah, so when you look at golf, there are quite a few different ways of betting. You've got the 72-hole matchups. You got Master 3-ball odds. You got a lot of different types. But right now it's group betting. You got a bunch of teasers. There was a lot of fun. They take it as far as you can. So this is what I'm going to say right here is if you think of something, there's probably a way to bet on it in the Masters. And that's going to bring a variety of people to the fold watching it on Saturday and Sunday because of the lack of college football and the time that the Masters takes place. If that NFL game's not interesting, you don't think there's going to be some people who tune in to the Masters instead. Even with that, I think when you really compare the NFL Sunday slate, there's 6 more of those. Only one Masters. So a lot of people were talking about how this is going to lose an audience. I think this is going to be it's still going to be a pretty heavily watched Masters. I think that for sure. But yeah, so you got to win, you've got groups, so they'll put 5 golfers in a group, and you pick who you think is going to be the best out of those 5. You've got teaser bets, so will blank and a blank, teasers. It's hard to explain, but look at they've got round 1 matchups. So pick between Bubba Watson, Matthew Wolff. Okay, you got a favorite, you got a non-favorite. It's spread it out by a half, so that means someone has to win by a stroke. They're going to have those every day. Tournament matchups. So this is for the entirety of the tournament. Those are going to be live odds. You pick one person versus another person. Adam Scott, Ricky Fowler, for example. Who do you think is going to win? So continuing down the list, you've got so many different opportunities to get interested in golf, would be the best way to put it. But I'm going to be interested in following the future of golf, the big hitters, and Bryson DeChambeau. What has this crazy SOB done this time? If you guys don't know Bryson DeChambeau, if you're not a golf listener, I'm going to teach you a little something about Bryson DeChambeau. The dude takes golf to a very scientific level. He really does think he's smarter than everybody on the golf course. And there's been times where he has proven to be. Is he a revolutionary? Is he a mad scientist? Is he legitimately changing how this game is played? Yes, a little bit. I think you can really credit it. The one thing that will finally prove it, because, big hitters win the U.S. Open. Big hitters win the British Open. It happens. All right, big hitters win every other major. Big hitters have not been known to play the Masters well. But no one has tried to hit this big at the Masters. So, Bryson DeChambeau has taken his driver length, the length of the club, to a level only really seen on the long drive tour. And yes, this driver would be short for the long drive tour, but for golf, it is much longer, and that is providing him with much more torque through the swing, through the club, and it is allowing him to get a lot more momentum into the club before it makes contact with the ball, allowing him to get a club speed that's much greater and a ball speed off the tee that is much bigger. And he could put I think it's more, I don't know if it's backspin. I think it's backspin. So he could do all that better with the longer club. But the longer club raises the risk. So it's a greater risk versus a greater reward. He cleared the trees. He cleared a dog leg it was unthought of in practice. It was unthought of. Can he do it consistently for 72 holes? Now that's the question. All right, he's the favorite, but this has never been tried before. This can go so well for him. Or it can go so poorly. And those are the moments that, you think about it and you're like, wow, this is really a gamble from this guy. But this gamble's starting to pay off. He is a guy who has put on 40, 50 pounds of muscle, of weight. He is gigantic now. He is a buff dude. And if you guys saw him when he got into the tour, go look up Bryson when he entered the tour and look up Bryson now. And he doesn't look like the same person. And that is because he is dedicated to breaking golf. Playing golf as far as you can play it. Making golf as short as it can be in the second shot. And that is a different type of mindset. I've never seen it before, It used to be accuracy. It used to always just be about accuracy. So, yeah, I'm seeing Bryson right now actually hitting his long driver, and this thing, it's crazy. This dude's a crazy dude. I'm looking at everybody else's normal drivers. They look way, way shorter, and it's crazy. I mean, watching golfers, a lot of these dudes are little. Then you see Bryson walking by, and the dude's a Hulk. But getting back into it, I don't know if he's going to win with this strategy. I don't think anyone knows. They're showing the white dogwood right now. It's one of those beautiful holes. I mean, I think what people forget about this course is there's very small landing zones. And this is the one I think they talked about with Bryson, who might hit it over the trees and into a different landing zone that will roll the hill and get him a 50-foot shot, 50-yard shot to the green. So that's why people are so heavily leaning towards Bryson DeChambeau. His ability to hit the ball excessively far. And, there's just holes that he can really just defeat with distance if he hits the ball correctly. But just because you can hit the ball far doesn't mean you can win at Augusta. And Tiger Woods proved that last year. Tiger Woods relies very heavily on the fan influence. The fan influence plays a heavy factor in golf when you're a guy like Tiger Woods, who could literally put pressure on the rest of the field by making a putt here, making a putt there, hitting this shot. And you hear the gallery start going, oh, from way far away. You're just like, you just start hearing that, yeah, and it'll put the pressure on. You're not a star like Tiger. That's what people say. You're not going to get the following Tiger has around the course. It's one of those things where, without a doubt, it plays an advantage that he's not going to have this year. This is really going to open up opportunities. You're not. I know. I saw a few years ago the young golfers aren't as scared as Tiger. That's because Tiger wasn't winning. When Tiger's winning golf tournaments, he's as scary as ever. But when I picked the 5 guys I liked, I texted my friend. I was like, I have a feeling, I really like Jon Rahm. I think he is a guy who really can make some noise in this tournament this year. I think he's a very big competitor for the green jacket. I think when you look at other guys, I'm pulling up my list real quick. My friend, I'll read his picks first. He picked DJ, Justin Rose, Bryson DeChambeau, Brooks Koepka, and Tony Finau. I picked for my 5, let me pull it up. I liked Rahm these are the people I like to win, not the people I liked. I liked Rahm to win. I liked Reed. I liked Scott, and I liked Schauffele. And then Tony Finau, I'm not pro big hitter. And then Tiger, I'm not pro big hitter like he was in his list. I think my list is more traditional people I've seen win the Masters. I'm going to stick with tradition when I pick this. I think it's going to be guys who hit good shots. I think it's going to be guys who could shape the ball well. And I think it's going to be guys who play consistent. And that's who I picked. I picked consistent golfers. And I think, until Tony Finau rolled his ankle, he was a favorite to win it before. So I think Finau is probably my number 1. I think Rahm's 2. I think Reed and Tiger are tied at 3. And then I'm just not going to be pro heavy hitter. I'm going to love watching it. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited. This is literally Happy Gilmore come to life with a more traditional golf swing. That's exciting. So, yes, the azaleas, the 11th, 12th, 13th holes, the turn, it's unbelievable stuff. It's really one of the most magnificent golf courses, one of the most magnificent meccas in sports. It's truly just, it's insane. This is what Georgia looks like. This is Georgia. This is real Georgia, not the ATL. This is the beauty that is Augusta. And I'm excited. We talked golf, man. It's in a lightning rain delay right now. It's starting back up in 8 minutes. We're going to get into golf, man. It's awesome. So this news just broke. Barcelona. We're going to stick with the Obscure Sports Quarterly. You guys remember Dodgeball, the movie? The magazine that one guy with the goggles would read? Yeah, so Obscure Sports Quarterly. They're not obscure sports. They're just obscure for me to talk about on my show because I'm a big football guy. Yeah, he just got sued by Barcelona because they said they paid him more money to avoid tax irregularities. All right, so that sounds like salt. Oh my God, we paid you too much money? All right, give us the money back because you left. That's salt if I've ever seen it. All right, but next on the list, we're going to get into the NFL and some of those storylines. Usually right now while I'm doing the show, I've got Good Morning Football on. Pro Football Focus has released their midseason All-Pro team, and there was a stat I saw just a few minutes ago. Derrick Henry averages 95 yards on Thursday Night Football. So if you have him in fantasy, which I used to, good on you. Thursday Night Football is his best night. And yeah. So yeah, looking at the news, you're going to see a lot. Christian McCaffrey got hurt again. It's really, there's a lot of questions going into this weekend. Ravens had another player test positive for COVID-19, but for the NFL, this is actually a pretty slow week. When you pull up NFL news, there's usually some big, weird news. And, for some reason, outside of Antonio Brown, this year's been quiet without any controversy. And there's a pandemic. Obviously, there was the mask issue with the Raiders. But I think really, I don't even really know what I'm going to get into with the NFL. This is a show. It's Wednesday Wing It. Oh, but it's Thursday. So, yeah, I used to do these shows when I didn't have a plan called Wing It Wednesdays. And they were fun. They were good. And I just talked. Oh man, there's just nothing to talk about this week in football. This is the conversation. Aaron Rodgers, he's been good. The Chiefs are still in first place. What am I supposed to like this week? The Browns are 5-3. That's not dramatic. The Jets are still terrible. Cam Newton, it took every ounce of Cam Newton to beat the Jets for the Patriots. That's something. Man, McCaffrey, I think, we can talk about him and his injuries. That he first hurt his calf, Then he hurt his shoulder this weekend, and now he's dipping. So he's missed 6 games this year already with an ankle calf injury. And then he's going to miss next week and probably a few more weeks with the shoulder injury. And now, take it from a guy who's injured his shoulders quite a bit. It's definitely not fun. But he's not expected to play Sunday against the Buccaneers. This is a big NFC South rivalry. This is actually playing for this is a very important game. You know, you have the Buccaneers who are reeling after last week's obliteration against the Saints. And now they're not even going to play. Now, they don't have their best player. But if you're a Mike Davis fantasy owner, that's good. It's good. I hope they win. All right, that's what I'm rooting for. But yeah, no, I think Christian McCaffrey is a good example. I think when you have a running back who gets that many touches and is that size, it's not sustainable. It's not. It's absolutely one of those question marks where you're like, God, he's really not the biggest. You know, everyone was talking about him bulking up and getting bigger, but you really can't change your initial frame. And when I talk about Christian McCaffrey, he's buff, he's ripped, he's lean, he's a mean, lean fighting machine. But when you really take into consideration his size and when you take into consideration how physical football is, and he's never been a traditional run between the tackles guy. He's a jittery, shifty, fast. He's got some power, sneaky power. And it got up to him. He had like 400 touches, something stupid like that last year. 350 touches. It's a lot of times having the football in your hand and taking physical contact. That is what the sport is about, and that wears down on running backs. And I think you saw it last year with Josh Jacobs, the rookie. You see it with Dalvin Cook, who gets worn down because of the amount of touches he needs to get. You see it with elite running backs that over time, there's going to be a year it wears down on their body and they just need to rest. Christian McCaffrey's had a few years in the league. Christian McCaffrey's been an absolute superstar. But at the end of the day, it's been quite a spectacle to watch him, and this was just a matter of time in my eyes. So yes, that's the NFL conversation for the day. Running backs, they get hurt and they get tired and their bodies don't work. And this is actually some big news that just broke on my television screen. So it's getting added to the show. Russell Westbrook and Harden unsure of futures with Rockets. Both have 3 years remaining on their respective max deals. What does that mean? Okay, number one, it means you're probably not going to get much value for them because when these contracts end, you want to know the ages of Russell Westbrook and James Harden? Russell Westbrook is 32, which means at the end of this contract, he will be 35 years old. We don't even know what type of player Russell Westbrook will be. They had a plus 5.6 net rating, a plus 7.7 when it was just Harden, and a minus 1.4 when it was Westbrook. So that means the team is better when Westbrook is not on the floor. Think about that. James Harden, 31. He's got 3 years left on his contract. How is he going to get out? How are these players going to move? What is their plan with this? You know, there's a new ownership. There's new management. Are Russell Westbrook and James Harden just not ready to rebuild? Maybe this is a better situation. I don't think Russell Westbrook ever fit there. But James Harden, this was your team. This is like an opportunity. If you never win a championship, it's much better to just stay with one team your whole career and be an icon on that team. You're going to be a hero, a folklore hero. And that's really what it's all about when you don't win championships. And I don't think James Harden's ever going to win a championship. So I highly doubt it. Unless he hops on the Lakers or unless he hops on the Celtics or a team that's already poised to get there, get close. If he went to Miami, that team would be pretty lethal, honestly. But then again, he's taking a lot of what makes Miami away. So he has to go to a team that's either similar to the Rockets and doesn't already have an established superstar or an established culture, or he has to stay and hope that they can figure out what they are going to do. And that that's one of the biggest challenges in sports. Do I stay with what I know and hope it gets better, or do I guess and hopefully something new is better than that? A lot of questions with that. Russell Westbrook, though, yes, the stats are empty. The jump shot's broken. It's truly just... if you've listened to this show, if you've ever listened to me talk about sports in person, I've never, ever been pro Russell Westbrook. It's not once in my life have I come on this show. Besides saying he's not a bad person, I have never been pro Westbrook. I'm not going to start now. I think Russell Westbrook is in the twilight of his career. I think maybe you get 2 or 3 more years of Westbrook. I don't know how long he actually wants to play. I think he's a guy who's extremely competitive. I think he's come from, he was never the star when he was in college. It was Kevin Love. It was other players who were the star. He was kind of the late bloomer of the bunch. Hit a growth spurt. Hit an athletic spurt. That's Russell Westbrook. Can he develop those other skills he needs besides being a freak athlete to really elongate his career? I don't know. Vince Carter developed a jump shot. Other players that athletic have developed consistent jump shots and have turned into team-oriented players. That is how you survive in this league. I just don't see that with Westbrook. Harden, that guy could be a spot-up shooter till he's 45. That's the difference. Will he be? I don't know. I don't know how much longer Harden wants to play basketball. They've never been guys who've really followed the straight line of the world. They've never been the guys you look at and think, man, those guys are normal dudes. And I'm not saying that as a knock. They're just different. They are built different. Their personalities are different. James Harden's a quieter, more reserved dude. Russell Westbrook, you've seen the way he dresses. That's his personality. He's got other interests. He does. There's nothing wrong with that. A lot of people have different interests. But I will say that moving forward, we're seeing the end of Russell Westbrook. We're not seeing a new beginning. Anywhere he goes after Houston is not going to make him a better basketball player. Anywhere James Harden goes outside of Houston isn't going to make him an instant champion unless it's with the Warriors or the Bucks or someone like that. It's just the truth. It's the world we live in. And at 32 and 31 years old, there's not as much time left as you think. And you guys are making so much money. And now this just broke from Shams Charania. Houston's James Harden committed to the Rockets and is locked in for the season, sources tell him. So Russell and then Shams reported Rockets Russell Westbrook wants out of Houston, sources tell The Athletic and Stadium Sports. Okay, so we got a mixed bag of reporters, but I think all my points still stand outside of the fact that we don't know where they're going to be. All right, so we got some news from last night that I was very excited about. It was a really awesome end to the Indian season that didn't end the way I wanted it to, but I don't think it ended the way he wanted it to. The best Bieber, Shane Bieber, is a unanimous AL Cy Young Award winner. The first Indians pitcher to be voted unanimous. He joins a collective club with the Indians, and let me think of it. 5 Indians have won it in the last 14 years. So the Indians know how to develop pitchers. You've got CC Sabathia, you've got Cliff Lee, you've got Corey Kluber twice, and you've got Shane Bieber winning it unanimously in 2020. Shane Bieber also joins the likes of Oral Hershiser, Dwight Gooden, Sandy Koufax, Greg Maddux, Bob Gibson, Donnie McClain, Ron Guidry, Roger Clemens, Pedro Martinez, Johan Santana, Justin Verlander, and himself, as well as Doc Holliday, Jake Peavy, and that is the list of unanimous winners. There have been 18 in history That is ridiculous. And it's really been a story this year. I think he's the first Triple Crown winner since... I can't remember the stat. But he's the first Triple Crown winner in a while. Honestly, I can't remember the last Triple Crown winner in the AL. But he led in almost every important stat outside of the main three for the Triple Crown. And he is just really... He was special, man. Watching him this year actually was like the one reason I continuously watched baseball. He would go out and he would throw frisbees and he would strike people out. And he was just elite, dude. This was like the best pitcher I've seen. I think, I'm trying to think of the last, it's been a while since I've seen a pitcher like him. I think young Kershaw was the last one. That 2014 year when Kershaw was legit just absolutely just obliterating his opponents in front of him. It was a year to remember for Shane. And I'm excited to have been part of it as a fan. And I'm excited to see it moved forward. That is really the one breaking news I had on today's episode. Go Shane Bieber. I can't wait to see him pitch next year. He's going to be making a lot more money after arbitration. Good on him. He deserves it. Unanimous, man. Joins Gaylord Perry, CC Sabathia, Cliff Lee, and Corey Kluber as the Indians winners. He's the fifth. And now I get into the conversation I've been dreading. It's only going to be 5 minutes, 6 minutes or so. But 4 SEC games postponed this weekend. Ohio State, Maryland canceled. That's 5 marquee football games. The country is not in a place where the virus is getting better. You know, in March, there was this term thrown around quite a bit. A lot of people were like, this is just a hoax. It's a Democratic hoax. The election, they're using it to get him out. Ooh, and then Trevor Bauer won the NL Cy Young. Shout out to him. But, first Reds pitcher. But the pandemic, the Lakers announced they're not having fans in the stadium. Weeks ago, Dan Mullen said, fill up the swamp. And we're like, what? We're surprised these SEC games are getting canceled? I'm not. Have you seen the way the South operates during this? There's zero surprises to me about what's going on in the SEC with the games getting canceled and postponed. It's a question. Everyone's like, oh my God, the Big Ten should have started earlier. We're lucky the Big Ten started at all. Oh my God, the SEC, they're canceling games. Why are they canceling games? It's a virus. It doesn't hurt young people. Okay, dude, calm down, relax. It does, it can. There's a reason that the heart measurements and stuff do occur after. But looking at this, I'm looking at the numbers of rising cases and the daily average of cases being added to the list. I'm just going to say, before it gets better, it's going to get worse one last time. And football games are going to get canceled. And sports seasons aren't going to have fans. And until the vaccine is ran out across the country, we're going to have a lot of questions about the possibility of games not being played. The 49ers just cleared a virus investigation. This is the world we're living in. It's not weird. It's not strange. This is something we should have been prepared for. But rather than, take it seriously, wear the mask. It's not a complicated endeavor. It's not hard to put a mask on. Instead of, just respecting distance, we filled up bars. We filled up stadiums across the country. We have done stuff that no other country has, and they're being hit hard too. It's not saying that we're alone in this, but we're on another level. And does our population come into play? Absolutely. But I know at the end of the day, a lot of people are going to be upset when this thing recloses and sports have to take a little bit of a break again before we get all normal, because it's going to be over. It's going to be over soon. I think it'll be over within the next 6 months. Over in quotations. There's still going to be people getting it. There's still going to be people needing the vaccine. But, like, I'm getting sniffly. But it's really just all on ourselves this time around. That's just the truth. It's no one's fault but our own. I mean, I'm excited to watch sports, but I'm looking at Maryland football. I'm looking at all the teams in the South. 4 games got canceled. There's 12 teams in the SEC. 4 games got canceled. That is 2/3 of the games. You're serious right now? 2/3 of the games got canceled. I can tell you it's not going to get better in the South, because I'm going to tell you something. I don't think they even think this thing's real. I watched Borat. This is nice. But if Ohio State is cost a national championship because of the malfeasance of other citizens, I'm gonna be irate. I'm just gonna put it out there now. So yes, Ohio State is gonna win a national championship this year, and if someone in this world takes it away from me, I'm gonna be unhinged. I'm already a little bit unhinged thinking about it. But if Maryland takes it away from us, I don't know if there's going to be much for me to do. This was the year. We have Justin Fields. It's hurting, man. But I got to go. I got to get to work. It was a good show. I winged it. I'm going to be honest. I didn't have a single show note. I just went for it. Was it my best work? No, but I got up and did it. And let's take that as a lesson, you know? I'm going to end this show. If you're tired, if your room's cold and you just want to lay in your nice blanket cover, get up and do what you want to do. Because you're going to feel much happier in the day when you realize that you woke up and you got something done, and you got something accomplished. It really does feel good. And I am excited moving forward. Oh my God, that was a bomb. And I'm going to go watch the golf until I have to leave for work. For real. So that was John Rahm hitting. He's my pick to win it. Him and Tony Finau. Anyways, thank you. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, ChrisReadyCFB, and subscribe and rate to the podcast.